Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. And just because Crew 2.0 is not here does not mean that Wargaming are incapable of managing to make huge changes to the way that crew skills work in World of Tanks. Today I'm going to be talking about a crew skill that until recently was something that I would never prioritize on any of my loaders, and now I feel that it's almost mandatory to have on all of your loaders, especially in your vehicles that either have really good high explosive rounds or alternatively they're auto loaders. And what better tank to show you the improved intuition on than the AMX Foch 155, that infamous 155mm autoloader. So intuition, it's a perk that allows you to be able to switch shells without it taking too long. Previously, intuition was pretty much like a 1 in 4 chance at best, maybe slightly better than that, or even slightly worse, even if you had it on 2 loaders, of automatically switching skills. But the problem with 1 in 4 is it's not predictable, you can't account for it, and when something is unpredictable and RNG based, then it's pretty much useless, because if you can't figure out if the shell's going to actually reload instantly, well then you're going to be stuck with a 50-second reload like you would be on this tank. What is the blooming point? Now the way that the intuition perk is going to work, or it's actually not a perk, it's a skill, that depending on how high you get it up to 100% hopefully, depending on your crew skills, depending on a lot of things in World of Tanks, which boost your crew skills like Vents, Brothers in Arms, and the premium consumable, then it's going to dramatically reduce how long it takes to switch your magazines. And so you know what, without further ado, why don't I just jump in now and show you with a live gameplay today of what it's all about. So, the Foch 155. It's a vehicle that truly struggles in World of Tanks these days because everything else has been made better, and the Foch 155 was significantly nerfed. At one point, I'd say this was probably the most broken tank in the game ever. That's back when it used to have 850 alpha damage, as all tier 10 tank destroyers with the 155mm guns or 152mm guns had, and its armor was better, its weak points, I believe, were also a little bit stronger, and its side armor was good. Then they nerfed the side armor, and now I believe they've buffed the side armor again, but too little too late for a vehicle that just has abysmal DPM. The better Foch is the one that reloads quicker and has 6 rounds. The only really good thing about this is high explosive rounds and the great penetration on your armor piercing rounds and your high explosive anti-tank rounds. So look at this reload. It's pretty much going to be, I don't know, about 45 seconds to 50 seconds in the Foch 155 depending on your crew skills. But I'm really excited to see if I can show you just how awesome it is to be able to change shells with the intuition perk. Now remember, I said that the intuition perk will scale with your crew skills. So if you have a premium consumable, that will help. If you have a 100% commander that's applying 10% of his crew skill to your loader, that will help as well. If you've got Brothers in Arms, if you've got vents on the tank, God forbid that you have bond vents on the vehicle, then you can see that when we finish reloading in a couple of seconds, then our changing time is actually going to be 8.8 seconds. That's actually wild. Considering that this whole magazine takes about 40 to 50 seconds to be able to reload, to be able to switch magazines in 8.8 seconds allows you to be incredibly flexible. So for example, I have armor piercing rounds here against a Rinoceronte. I wonder if this is really going to help. He's side scraping out round the corner. Shall we go for his turret? You know what? Why don't we actually try some high explosive anti-tank rounds? And you can hear the ping of the intuition perk going off, and within 8.8 seconds, we've actually managed to reload a whole magazine of high explosive anti-tank. And oh, you know what? I am okay with firing high explosive anti-tank rounds at the mouse. Oh, if we were firing armor piercing rounds there and we didn't have the 390mm of penetration like this tank has, to all intents and purposes, that round might have bounced. Unfortunately, we did manage to fire into the spaced protection of the tracks of the mouse there, where high explosive anti-tanks aren't going to work very well. Looks like we penned the extra on as well, as they are now down to 1,500 hit points. I got to be careful here because it looks like this mouse is an absolute mad lad, and he's pulling, well, he's just not even stopping. I'm hoping that maybe my artillery can manage to slow down the onslaught from the German heavy. This vehicle, it does need a long time to reload, and this mouse doesn't look like they're a very nice character. They're pushing forwards. Am I spotted? I am! Oh my god, please don't get double tracked. Please don't get double tracked. Oh, I'm on fire! Put it out! Throw some coffee on it, crew! Why don't I take a fire extinguisher in this tank? And oh dear, just to rub salt in my horrible wounds. It also just ammo-racked me now. But luckily, we've got a 10-second reload anyway, so that's not too bad. But the Rinoceronte wants to come after me, so I've got 60 seconds until my ammo rack is going to recover. The Rinoceronte is clearly wanting to come around the corner to be able to hunt me. And you see that the Intuition perk is actually affected by being ammo racked. That's something that I did not expect. Oh dear, this is looking pretty ugly, boys and girls. Even though we've dealt 1,500 spotting against the mouse and 1,500 damage to the mouse, this is looking rather ugly now as the enemy team are managing to waltz their way through the town and towards our base. Maybe if I just chill back here behind multiple sets of bushes, I can be able to get some rounds into the 50B. Oh my lord, the Foch B reversed into my round there, so we don't manage to get the shell onto him. Luckily, we can hear the artillery shells coming in now. Uh-oh, Rinoceronte's coming. Okay, well played, Mr. Rinoceronte. Okay, now that I've showed you how it works in the live gameplay, which didn't exactly go particularly wonderfully, but nearly 4,000 combined in this game is still not the worst kind of result, considering that we got really unlucky with that fire. Let me show you a couple of other situations where intuition has really worked out for me. So here we joined the FV4005, and we have a high explosive squash head round loaded. Now the Type 5 Heavy with the new HE nerfs is going to have massive protection against my high explosive rounds. So I just use the intuition perk to quickly, in less than 5 seconds, get an armor piercing round in, and we don't waste the 8,000 credits to do a paltry amount of damage to the front of the heavy tank. But with the intuition perk, the big old armor piercing rounds on this tank that actually have 1,150 alpha damage if you go through with the 310 millimeters of penetration, that was actually an outstanding low roll against that tank for only 943. We rolled 200 below, pretty much a minus 20 to 25% roll. And here we can see we actually had an armor piercing round loaded, and I'm going to change the armor piercing round to a Hesh round. But oh dear, maybe I'm outthinking myself there a little bit, and I think we just ended up losing 8,000 credits and missing the tortoise altogether. Now let's join the battle later on, where we've been outflanked by a Conqueror and a 50 TP. Once again, we have a high exploded squash head round loaded in the tank, and we're going to see if we can manage to deliver it to the Conqueror. We come around the corner slowly, and there's a 50 TP on 900 hit points. I don't think I can pen my Hesh round reliably, but instead, I know I'm going to pen my armor piercing round. We didn't even have time to blink when we changed our reload there, Chuck, you know? And that is where intuition on these big alpha damage tanks can just be so darn influential. And I'd say that it's now mandatory to have on your loaders. This, in my opinion, is a really nice change by Wargaming. It definitely is a significant buff to vehicles that predominantly relied on high explosive rounds, but also really, you should be taking it on all of your tanks. Being able to switch rounds like this to hopefully load that high explosive squash head round to be able to derp onto the side of the Conqueror there, because I wasn't sure that I could be able to get the armor piercing round through the front of the Conqueror, really shows how flexible this is. But it's not just big alpha damage guns that can make use of this. For example, in some of my light tanks, when I might want to quickly reload a high explosive round to be able to finish off one of the more lightly armored tanks on the enemy team. Or alternatively, if you're playing something like a TVP T50/51, you could have a whole magazine of armor piercing loaded and then reload high explosive anti-tank rounds, those heat rounds, to be able to go through that heavy tank. And with a quick reload like on a TVP, it works very well. There's one thing that I'd like to add, is that if you thought this would work with your auto reloaders, it doesn't. With auto reloaders, let me just stop there and clarify. I just hit that Tortoise's frontal armor for 1,029 for a non-penetrating high explosive round. Unbelievable. I feel that the HE changes have almost made it more random than ever when you're playing a vehicle like the 4005. Let me finish my train of thought, and that is that the auto reloaders in the game, you have to be fully loaded, and then you only get one shell back, which is really awkward on some of the larger auto reloaders like the Progetto 65, but it's actually quite good on something like the Rinoceronte, which only has 3 rounds, because obviously you're only sacrificing 2 to get a quick reload on 1. But really, while intuition can be great for your high alpha damage tanks, for me, with the Foch 155, in the couple of games that I've played in it so far, it definitely changed my whole vibe for this tank. Here's a round that I played earlier on in this week, and I'm stuck with armor piercing rounds loaded, and I can't really go through the mouse's cheeks. Let's see what we can do now with the 395 millimeters of high explosive anti-tank rounds that we have here. What I feel that intuition could also be really good for is the kind of player who just doesn't want to only take gold in their tank, but they want to invest into using those gold rounds when they do have the opportunity to do so. And the Foch 155, how often do you play against these kind of vehicles where they're only firing one kind of ammunition? And yeah, usually the one that has more penetration. Intuition, investing into it, could actually be really good for a free-to-play player, because there's only one thing worse than firing gold, and that really is probably just wasting your armor-piercing rounds altogether and not doing any damage and kind of complaining about it. Gold rounds, like it or not, are in the game. They're a tool. You should use them whenever you feel the need. And if you can penetrate them, you're pretty much doing, you're economically, you're breaking even, as long as, of course, you're not bouncing them. But when you're bouncing armor-piercing rounds, especially in a vehicle like this, a full magazine is going to cost me 4,000 or 5,000 credits, which I'm just absolutely wasting. So here I decide that I had a whole magazine of high explosive anti-tank loaded, and I let it finish loading, and then I switched to armor-piercing because I want to be a bit more economic, and I also think that the armor-piercing rounds will do better against the fence that you see in front of me, and also if I need to go through the side of the Kranvang's armor, for example. And this guy... I'm sorry, Kranvang, but you really don't want to sit in front of this thing for 10 seconds. Otherwise, you're really going to regret it, mate. Fast forward. Let's see if we can have a few more big mags for the Foch 155 and see if we're going to do any more switches or whether armor-piercing rounds are going to be what makes us the money here. The Foch 155, one of those very few tanks that I really feel that it is almost necessary to be able to fast forward here. I let the AMX 50B know that I'm going to go in, going to be able to put some pressure on the 140. And unfortunately for me, the 50B doesn't go around the corner to finish off the 140, and he seems to be focused on the 121B towards my right. That is absolutely painful for me. Imagine having the 50B saying that they were going to help you, but then they don't actually help you to be able to finish off the low health 140. And one of the last things you want to do when you have 750 alpha damage is actually waste it on a low health tank when you're playing a vehicle like this. And so, ladies and gentlemen, intuition. It's gone from being a skill that I wouldn't really recommend anyone to have on your vehicles to now being something that is mandatory. Make sure you make use of it. I think it's probably way more important than adrenaline rush on the tank. Whether it's more important than safe stowage or not, I guess that depends on the vehicle. Do you find yourself getting ammo racked a lot? If you do find yourself getting ammo racked a lot, then possibly safe stowage is going to prevent that from happening or prevent one of the explosions which will take you out the game for good. But really, on a vehicle like this, having that flexibility of being able to reload the right ammunition for the right job feels like one of the fantastic changes in what is proving to be quite a controversial patch of World of Tanks. And while there's a distinct possibility that when Wargaming thought about putting intuition into the game to make artillery's lives easier, there's no reason you can't use it on all of your other vehicles as well, to great effect. So ladies and gents, boys and girls, that's it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, give the video a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down, and let me know in the comments if you have been testing out intuition, or if you're going to do so after seeing this video, and what vehicles you're going to focus your loaders to have those important skills on. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's time for the World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase live right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And you know what? The end of June marks halfway through the year. Sorry if that's a reality shock for some of you out there, but you know what's been absolutely terrible about 2021? We haven't had a mouse Tech Tree Showcase. So I'm going to fix that right now, today, and showcase why the mouse is probably the best tank in World of Tanks, and it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out with the artillery nerfs and with the HE changes as well. And also, I've got drops enabled on the channel, so if you come and watch the Tech Tree Showcase today, you're going to get yourself some consumables, you get yourself some camo to be able to put on your vehicles, and if you stay for long enough, which, hey, if you want to, you're more than welcome to, then you're going to get yourself events as well for one of your tanks, so enjoy that. So, really looking forward to seeing all of you right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby, and as always, thank you so much for watching, you've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.